Hello, my name is Evananda. I've been teaching yoga around the world for over 30 years, sharing my blessings by offering free yoga classes, currently on the most beautiful beach in America, here in Siesta Key, Florida. Furthering my collaboration to raise personal and planetary consciousness, I now present Beyond the Matrix, a program in which I have thought-provoking conversations with authors, scholars, teachers, and healers who are on the cutting edge of ideas which will inspire, educate, and open our hearts to the multiple ways we can transform our world.
Welcome to Beyond the Matrix, a show that explores the mysteries of life and empowers you with knowledge concerning your mind, body, and spirit. Are you feeling uninspired in your current job? The economy may be making you afraid to make a change because changing jobs could be risky. Maybe there is a perfect career waiting for you, a job that takes into account all your talents, experience, and dreams. The purpose of a career counselor is to help you find that career, to analyze your positive and negative traits, and to look at your goals and determine what you would most enjoy doing and how to develop the talent and the skill to do it. Our guest today is Cindy Riedenauer of Integrated Mindset. Cindy owned 2 restaurant franchises for several years. She has a background that includes Fortune 500 companies. She now melds her spiritual and intuitive sides with career counseling. She is certified in this method of career coaching, which uses numerology, astrology, and intuition to help clients determine their true career life paths. So welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Now, Cindy, I see your life story as a beautiful example of the results that can be achieved with your life counseling methods. So let's begin, if you don't really mind, by telling us a little bit about your background academically and as an entrepreneur, and how your present career evolved from there.
Well, I have an MBA, and I worked in sales and marketing for years, and then I transitioned into an entrepreneur, owning 2 restaurants here in Sarasota. And it's one of those things where you work. You're going all day long, and you don't have time to really know what fulfills you. You don't get that option because it's all about the details and hard work and managing people and the daily routine. And then when the economy went down, I had to make a choice about the restaurants. And I actually was looking on the internet one day, and I found Sue Frederick.
Yes, I know of her.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She developed the I See Your Dream Job coaching. And I called her up and I asked her for a session. And she just gave it to me. She said, "What are you doing?" She said, "You are a master number. You are not supposed to be doing this. You are supposed to be bringing higher consciousness principles to people in a practical, down-to-earth way." And I think that gave me the validation to say, yes, this is about a transition. I closed the restaurants. I got certified in I See Your Dream Job coaching, traditional life coaching, and just recently her new program, I See Your Soulmate coaching.
Ah, my goodness. So tell us a little bit about that, about your dream job counseling.
Well, the way she started the program was that she was a career coach in Colorado, but she always had
a traditional one.
A traditional. And she always had a intuitive side to her. And once she finally melded the two, her practice just, flew up and exploded.
Yes, and she's very popular now.
Mm-hmm.
Very well known.
Right.
So, what do you do when you have your client in front of you then?
Well, we use numerology as the basis,
Okay.
and that's based on your birth date, something that you can never change.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's flavored by your astrological sign, and then it's also flavored by the intuitive messages that I get. So before I even know anything about the client, I will write down their birth date, place my hand over it, and just sometimes I'll see flashes of images, I'll hear a few things, and I'll ask specifically to hear a message about their life path.
Mm-hmm.
And then we discuss that with the client and use that to try and find out, did they have any dreams as a child that they didn't realize? Using all that as a basis, and it's all clues and kind of flavors of which direction they should go, then we also ask questions such as, if you were given $5 million to do anything that includes your dream job, what would it be?
I see.
And try and get down to that, what makes you feel good?
Mm-hmm.
What makes you tick?
And is each number then associated with a specific career? Say you were number 1, 2, or 3, or then that would designate what you were designed spiritually for?
Yes, in a way, I'd say, but it's all clues. It's not black or white, because everybody's different, and everybody still has different talents and abilities along with their life path and what direction they should look at.
Mm-hmm. And how is it, I know that this is rather commonplace for us to discuss numerology like this, but there are many people at home who may not be familiar with it or even convinced of its validity. So could you speak a little bit about it, how it works and so?
Well, it actually was developed by Pythagoras, who is the father of mathematics, and this was 600 AD. So it's been a long, long time ago. And he believes, and since then everybody believes, that there are actual energy vibrations associated with any number. And so it gives us clues as to who we are by reducing things down as much as we can to a single digit. So we take the birth date and add it together and keep reducing it down until we get a single digit, and that gives us the clues. The only exception to that is when we have 2s, 4s, and 6s, which can end up being a master number. And a master number comes here for a greater purpose. They come here to help humanity.
Mm-hmm. Has there been any research as to those, say, great gurus, saints, as to what numbers they were, to give a correlation?
Well, that's interesting because Obama is an 11. That's a master number. So he is supposed to be someone who helps humanity. Oprah Winfrey is a 22. She's a master number. And a 22 is somebody who helps build systems and brings those principles down in such a way that she changes the world.
Well, that's very interesting. And so that is what a master number is then?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Then could you help us by describing the characteristics of each life path number?
Okay. Well, if you look at a 1 is someone who is a visionary. They're a goal setter, a leader, but they don't like the detail work. So they're going to be the ones that will be standing over there with 20 people around them directing them where to go and what to do. They're not the one that's going to be doing all the work.
Yeah, they do nothing. My husband was a 1. So,
Okay.
So I know that characteristic where they assign duties to everyone around them.
Right.
But they're full of ideas
Yes.
as to the best way to go.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so, but if they use it correctly, they should be able to bring new ideas to the world, be an inventor,
Yes.
change things. And they make great business owners,
Entrepreneurs.
entrepreneurs.
Yes.
They teach leadership, teaching, directing, being a designer, an editor, and then there's also negative traits, just like anything, and they can be bossy and arrogant and stubborn and
Sounds familiar.
Sounds right. So, and one of the things too is that they can be full of self-doubt.
Yes.
And
yes.
but that's something they'll keep hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And so you probably didn't get to see that if you were seeing the bossy, arrogant side.
No, I saw that.
Oh, you
other
saw that
side
too? Okay.
Yes.
And that's what makes some very frustrated, because
Yes.
they know they're supposed to bring these ideas out to the world, but if
They don't have the self-confidence for
Right.
it.
And
yes,
if-
maybe because there are ones, and one, would that indicate that they're rather new to the world?
I don't
At all?
think necessarily.
No?
Not necessarily. No.
No, it doesn't speak to a sort of naivety in them? No?
I don't really look at it that
I
way.
haven't known that many. I've known a few, and they all seem to me somewhat naive.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting, because I actually have a son who's a 1, and
Yeah.
I see him as always bubbling up these creative ideas.
Yes.
So my job as his mom is to, keep saying, you can do it, you can do it.
Oh,
you
and,
know.
but with a practical
Yes, yes, exactly.
streak, right?
Right.
So because
Right.
they don't always possess practicality, do they?
Right,
Right.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
know.
And if you want to know some of the famous ones,
Yes, go
Nicolas
ahead.
Cage, Truman Capote, George Clooney, Danny DeVito, Walt Disney, Tom Hanks, Hulk Hogan, Barbara Walters, Robert Redford, Matt Lauer, Maya Angelou, Tom Clancy, Tiger Woods, David Copperfield, all ones.
Yeah. Well, one would have to know them, of course. They're all very successful people.
Yes.
But it's hard to think about them all possessing that particular quality of being
Visionary.
visionaries.
Mhm.
Yes, because they
But
don't.
Walt Disney, of course.
Well, of course,
that's easy
Walt
to
Disney
see.
was.
David Copperfield,
Mm-hmm.
that would be to see.
Yes, or presenting the vision.
Mhm,
yes.
mhm.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And what number did you say you were? You were
I'm at
22.
22,
You're
yes.
a master now. We'll get to that, right?
Yes,
Yes.
mhm, mhm.
So, and can we go to number 2 now?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
So in number 2 is that person that would be your best friend. They're kind, they're loving, they're compassionate, they're great in relationships, they make great counselors, but they can be overly sensitive too. So, they might take on the weight of the world kind of thing. They're great mediators, peacemakers, they're very intuitive and very connected. And they're very good in counseling, life coaching, researching, musicians, public relations, anything that is a one-on-one interface with people, they're great at.
Mm-hmm. And who are some famous examples of 2s?
Jennifer Aniston,
Okay.
Orlando Bloom, Meg Ryan, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Bacon, Regis Philbin. So you kind of get a feel from, if you met those people on a street, you probably would feel at least comfortable with going up and saying, could I have your autograph? Or could you talk to me? You wouldn't get that energy from them that they're going to look down on you and push you away.
They're personable.
Personable,
Yeah.
absolutely, right. But they can also be paranoid because of that sensitivity. They can worry too much, and they can just get obsessed with detail things, get lost in that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the flip side of it too.
All right. And then 3, then?
3 is the entertainer, the person that wants to be on stage, that wants to speak out, that wants to have attention. They're the perfect artistic, creative type person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 3.
Yes. So,
Makes perfect sense.
yes, so that's why you're here doing this.
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
Yes. They also make great models.
I was a model when I was younger.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Anything that's in a type of beauty industry,
Mm-hmm.
because of that sensitivity, compassion, art therapist, Actor, entertainer, designer, all those things would be good for threes. And the famous threes, Hillary Clinton.
Dear God. We're in the same category,
You're
we?
in the same category.
Well, that's,
But you can see that she wants to be on stage.
yes.
You can see that she enjoys that.
Indeed, I can see that she's an actress.
Well, so
Indeed, she
okay.
is.
Madonna, Jennifer
Yes.
Lopez, Christina Aguilera, John Travolta, Shania Twain, Alec Baldwin, all
Okay.
threes.
All right.
And so a three, the flip side of a three. So
Oh, the negative.
yeah, you get to hear the negative
Okay.
too. So they can be cold-hearted,
Cold-hearted?
conceited, superficial,
Dear God.
lack focus, or lack responsibility. But you got to remember, this is
I don't think so.
well, okay. This is the flip side. So that if somebody doesn't know who they are,
Yes.
that's what often happens. People get lost in the negativity
Yes.
of their life path instead of really embracing the good stuff, the positive.
Yes, I'm sure there are certain parts of that we all
Evolve.
Yes.
And there have been stages when those things are more true than other stages.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully we evolve towards the more positive aspects of who we are.
Right. And I do
So-
think that the older you get, the more you embrace your life path.
Yes,
You
yes.
sink
And the more you
into it.
understand yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we are ready to go to number 4.
Yes.
Yes, great.
Fours are about hard work. Fours are the worker bees. They're the person that just never stops. They're the little hamster on the wheel. And they have a lot of self-discipline, perseverance. They keep going, focused, concentration, productive, and organized. They make great teachers, accountants, economists, software technicians, the nitty-gritty kind of workers. Okay, and the funny thing about a 4 is because they are so hardworking and try and stay behind the scenes, it's really, really hard to find a famous 4.
Oh,
So they're actually the ones that make it happen.
Yes.
But they don't get any of the recognition.
Right.
I see. But give us some examples. I'm sure there has to be some.
Leonardo da Vinci, Will Smith, Hilary Swank, and Julius Caesar.
okay. But when they do succeed, they do it in
Well,
a
he
big
did,
way.
yeah. Yeah, and then negative traits, it can be that they can just be dull, boring, overly practical, don't know how to have fun, and just work too hard, just kind of get trapped in it and just keep going and going until there's nothing left.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
5.
Fives, okay. Fives are the adventurist, the travel guide, the person that wants to travel all over the world and do wonderful, exciting things. And, they're the one that you want to go to their party because they'll have something unusual and fun and exciting, and they're fearless.
they're fearless.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be a world traveler, it would help to be fearless.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've had a few friends who were 5s, and they are very much like that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they're not here right now because they're
Because
traveling.
they're off doing something
Yes.
fun. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and they make great, travel guides, actors, writers, language teachers, wine experts, public relations, the foodie that you see on the Food Network. That would be a
Yes.
great job for a 5. They get
Why
to
is
try,
that?
Oh, they get to try all these different things. They're not somebody that likes routine. That just kills their spirit. They need to have the opportunity to get up and move around, go places, meet different people, do different things.
Okay, good. And examples of a 5?
The 5s, Marlon Brando, Ron Howard, Uma Thurman, Mick Jagger, Bette Midler, Angelina Jolie, Dennis.
Now there's a perfect example of a 5.
Yeah, she
is
fits
not?
that so
Yes.
perfectly. Dennis Quaid, Steven Spielberg.
Okay, okay. Well, now we know a little more about those people than we did before.
And the negative traits with a 5, I think they can have more serious issues because if they're not doing the things that bring them joy, they can get lost in addictions.
Oh.
So that's really
And that's another example with Angelina Jolie, is that was previous to her being able to find herself.
right.
So it's a good example.
Right. And so they can be fickle, restless, impulsive, overindulgent, all those things that almost when you think about trying to put somebody in a box where they just don't fit, they'll do anything they can to rebel.
Or they do inward travel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would probably be something to investigate too.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how many of them leave their bodies somewhere and just go off.
Yes, astral travel.
Yes, exactly.
It's when you don't have enough cash, right?
Yes.
6.
Okay, 6.
Seriously.
Seriously. The 6 people are those that are the natural parent. They're about beauty and harmony and making people get along in the world. I had a friend who was always telling me that she could never get her husband to go back onto people that had wronged him and take care of it, sue them, or do something that needed to be done. He would just kind of let it go and say, well, okay, I won't hang out with them anymore, but that's the way it is. And she would get very frustrated. And I did his number, and it was a 6. And that's perfect for a 6. They don't want conflict. They don't want to have to fight people. They just want everybody to get along and work together. And 6s are about social order and justice and beauty, and they'd make a great interior designer. They like to have a beautiful home. If they had to be someplace that was not their own, that they had not even a little space to call their own, that would be bad for them, because they need their little patch of beauty and something that really makes them feel at home.
It's interesting because the house,
In which I live is a number 6.
So it should be a beautiful home.
It is a beautiful home, and it's very welcoming, and there is a sense of nourishment in it.
Perfect.
You feel nourished by the environment. So it's true. And when I was in a home that was an 8, it was a very good place for business.
Right.
So it's interesting that the home itself can also reflect the number, the characteristics of the number.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a vibration too.
And who, may I ask, can we list that are 6s?
That 6s. Now again, you kind of get this vibration that these are people that you might be able to approach.
Yes.
They're nice, approachable, caring, compassionate people. John Denver, Ben Affleck, Meryl Streep, Michael Jackson, Steven Tyler, Goldie Hawn, and Eleanor Roosevelt, all 6s.
I don't know much about Eleanor Roosevelt.
Well, she was a caretaker.
She was?
Yes, she went and she visited people that needed help, and she created social programs. And
For some reason, I just had forgotten about all her qualities. But yes, now that you remind me, that is true, isn't it? Yeah.
And then the negative side of a 6
Yes.
is somebody who can be overly critical, and usually they take it out on their loved ones because they don't like the conflict to go out there into the world and do it. They kind of nitpick the people around them the most, and they can kind of meddle in people's affairs. They think they know better. They think they know what the correct thing to do is, and they will say it.
there's probably a lot of women nodding.
Yes.
I know that quality. Yes. Well, that's interesting.
Now, we're already at 7, right?
We're at 7.
Oh, wonderful. Now, 7 has to be a special number.
7 is a very spiritual number. 7 is someone who, very intellectual. They think a lot. They're going to be analyzing the world, trying to figure out why it is the way it is. How can I make sense of this? Can I change it? What needs to be done? So they need to make sure they don't try and escape, because they'll see things. They like a more mystical, spiritual life. But
It's funny I'm not a 7.
It's true.
Well, but sevens probably are not those people that would be broadcasting
That's
or
true.
modeling. They would
They'd
probably be
in
more.
an ashram.
Yes, exactly. Or a monastery
Or a
somewhere
monastery
chanting.
someplace,
Yes.
chanting.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, I've been there too.
Oh, okay.
Just I didn't stay.
Okay, they make great writers,
Yes.
artists, designers, researchers, scientists, psychologists.
Mhm.
Be great jobs for them.
Yes.
And then famous life path sevens are Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp, really?
But you know, when you look at him, he's one of those actors that you think has a greater purpose. Have you ever felt that about?
Well, there is something about him that seems to be
Aware,
Yes.
let's just say.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
More aware than most
Mhm.
in Hollywood.
Mhm.
Whether it's not always expressed in the roles that he takes,
Right.
but you always get the sense that he knows something more than he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's a sort of an awareness, kind of a sense of being in the know.
I think so too.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So that's true. That's
Yeah.
true about him. Who
Princess
else did you
Di-
mention?
Princess Diana.
Princess Diana.
Mhm.
Well, that's more self-evident there,
Mhm.
not it?
She did
Yeah.
good works, and
She did a lot of
cared.
humanitarian things.
Yeah. Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
Why does that make us laugh?
I know.
Forgive us. But for
Julia-
some reason, he doesn't strike you
Necessarily as being
No.
so spiritual as
No,
it's
not so
just,
much. But I can see where he'd be in his head a lot, the intellectual person. And I could see a little bit, if he wasn't actually on the stage, being a little bit of a loner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And of course, you get a sense that he does know things,
Mm-hmm.
and that he understands, has a deeper understanding
Right.
of things.
Right.
Yes, it's true.
And we have Melinda Gates, who is Bill Gates' wife. And they have done so much in their foundation and their charities to help the world. So that fits her very well.
Okay.
So negative traits,
Yes.
they can be self-absorbed. This is another number that can get lost in addictions. They can try and escape and do things not to have to be here. They can withdraw, they can be skeptical, and they can be aloof. And
Aloof, I can see in some of those characters that you mentioned, a sort of an aloofness about them,
mhm.
you know, a sort of distance.
And one of the things I've noticed is if I do numbers of people that would be my parents' generation, more and more that you look at those people, they don't seem to jive with their numbers. Because those people, they were taught to get a job, get, into business, have hard work, raise a family, and there
to
wasn't...
live counter to their number,
Absolutely.
in effect.
They were
Right.
taught that all their life. And so when I look at my parents, my aunts, my uncles, and I'm thinking, wow, what happened here?
And might be a clue as to why there was so much frustration and maybe a negative behavior, addictive behavior as well, because of the frustration of not actually being able to be who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The culture doesn't permit it.
Right.
Okay. Excellent.
So we're on
So we're on
8.
at 8. We only have 9.
Right.
Right. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have the master numbers too.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That would be very interesting.
Yeah. So an 8 is somebody who's here to do material things. They need to handle money. They need to be in business. They need to be the interface in society and commerce. And a lot of times in my practice, I'll meet people who come to me and they're almost upset that they're an 8 because they've started a spiritual path and it's hard for them to bring the two together.
Ah.
But they have
Are
to...
they discouraged because they know what 8 means, or because they're fighting something within themselves?
I think they're fighting themselves,
Uh-huh.
thinking, well, money can be the root of all evil,
Oh,
and
yes.
I'm a spiritual person, I don't need this. So part of my job is to make them understand that this is very necessary. There has to be people that handle the money and the commerce and the banks. There has to be people that do that, and you can still do it with compassion. And I think the ultimate job of an 8 is to handle money, but to be able to let it go. So that,
What do you mean by that?
well, have a foundation, give it away to people who need it, have so much money that, like Malcolm Forbes and all those guys that have billions of dollars, let them start a foundation, let them accumulate the money, and then spread it around to those people that need help. I think that's
So charity work,
charity work, yeah. Absolutely.
philanthropic work, right?
Or knowing that when they pull money into them, not to hoard it. Go ahead and spend it, enjoy it. But don't ever let money be the end reason for anything. You know, it's just what money can bring,
Yes.
can help others with it. And these people should be, even a professional athlete can be an 8, which is interesting nowadays because they get such big salaries.
Some of them, yes.
Yes.
Some of them do.
CEOs, bankers, publishers, even as stockholders. When you think about somebody who does a lot of dabbling in the stock market, a lot of people are 8s that do that because they just have a knack for handling that money and picking the stocks and you know, going in and out of the stock market.
Day traders.
Yes, absolutely. That'd be a perfect
Yes.
8. Yes.
That would be a perfect 8 number.
And so now these people, I think you'll agree, these seem like 8s.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see.
Lucille Ball.
Hold on there. Lucille Ball. Really?
She had an empire.
Well, that's true, but I thought it was Desi who was behind that.
Well, I've always read that she was the brains behind everything,
Oh,
and that she would be the comedian in front of the cameras, but behind the scenes, she was really controlling everything and deciding, okay, we need this show, and then let's start this business, and she did a lot of that.
well, it's good to know they have a sense of humor, though.
Yes, yes, she did. But I bet she was very serious about her sense of humor.
Yeah, well, probably
Yeah.
as a business.
Right.
Yeah, her sense of humor became her business.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor?
Yes.
Oh, no, I can see that. Yes. There's a lot of bling around her,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Barbara Streisand.
Oh, yes. Well, that's most definitely true.
And Picasso. Was
And
named.
no doubt there either, because he was an extraordinary business person. And he still probably is the greatest business artist of all time, really.
Yes.
His works are still being sold at remarkable prices. And he created hundreds of thousands of things to be sold. So, yes, that's very true. But you would think that he would be a 7 or perhaps, as you described it, a 3 because he was a showman.
A 3 would have, yes,
Yeah.
I can see that too.
Yeah.
So,
But are there smatterings of that? Are there different numbers that can occur in a person's chart, not just their life path number? Are there other numbers?
yes, there are numbers. You can use the letters of the alphabet and assign numbers to them and reduce that down and figure out your name, your birth name, the name you use now. I've actually had clients come to me and tell me they're writing a book and they want to get the perfect pen name to be successful. And we've gone through about 20 different permutations of their name to try and figure out the one that would be commercially successful. So-
By the number that it reduces down
Yes.
to. And have you had any instances where that actually did work?
They haven't got it published yet, so I don't
so
know. But
we're
I
yet
think
to find out.
It's very interesting. But I do think that vibration, when you're introducing yourself to someone, the name that you're using can influence what somebody picks up
About
from
you.
you.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So did we
So
go
we're
through?
still on the negative traits of
Yes,
8.
and what
So-
are they?
Well, you can probably figure that out.
Oh,
Greed,
yes.
abuse of power, being cruel, materialistic, stingy, controlling, superficial, just all the opposite things.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, that makes very much sense. So now we're at 9.
Now, they say a 9 is an old soul. They're somebody that's here to be a humanitarian. 9s are supposed to work for the greater good of organizations, educational institutions, foundations, more than working for themselves. But they're a great interface in that kind of group dynamic. They're generous. They usually have charisma. And a 9 is one of those people that if they walk into a room, you notice them.
Yes.
You just immediately feel.
I have a good friend who's a 9.
Okay.
And she's always trying to help people and give advice. And that's almost her profession is sort of an advice giver. But it isn't, but there is a level of almost innocence about them too.
I would agree, and I think 9s can also get bogged down in helping others too much. And I have seen some
Easily taken advantage of.
absolutely, and I've seen especially younger people who their family has problems, so they don't take that job in another city because they want to stay and help their family, or they get so bogged down that they keep putting themselves last.
And which is why often too they lack self-perspective,
Yes.
because they're always giving out to people. They're out, but they don't turn inward as much.
That's
Or
right.
they don't have time for that because they're always so caught up in everyone else's problems.
Right?
And so that's why, even though they may be a 9, which seems to be a high number, they may not know themselves that well.
That's right.
Would you agree?
I would agree,
Yeah.
definitely. And 9s make good physicians,
Oh, yes,
None.
I can see that.
nonprofit leaders, composers, playwrights, good in politics, publishing, and art.
And art. Interesting.
And famous 9s are, this is kind of interesting too. You get Elvis Presley, Jimmy.
No kidding.
Yeah.
He was extremely generous.
As far, pardon me, as far as I remember reading about him, he was remarkably generous and kind.
Right. He would give cars to people.
He would give cars to total strangers, I heard.
Jimmy Carter,
Jimmy Carter.
great humanitarian. Just so involved in helping others.
Yes.
And Harrison Ford, Ray Kroc, who founded McDonald's.
Ray Kroc, well, I don't know anything about him.
I do know about McDonald's, though.
Nobody can help that. Shirley MacLaine.
Oh, now that's interesting. And,
I would have thought she'd be a 7, but I can see the humanitarian in her also.
Yes, she's very helpful to people as far as I've read about
Right.
her. But she's also self-enlightened.
Oh, very.
So there's somebody who's taken the time to actually explore who she is as a person.
Right.
So, all right, go ahead.
Okay, and then the negative traits, they can be bitter, get bogged down in sadness, be unable to move forward, and sometimes wasteful, almost like a rebellion. You know, they
Wasteful in what?
well, just in their gifts and what they have,
Oh.
spending things they don't have, because it's almost like the frustration closes in on them if they're not taking care of themselves. So
I
you do
see.
things that don't really serve you.
I see. Good. All right. So we've come to the end of the major numbers, right?
Correct.
And now we're going into the master numbers. These are the masters.
Right.
And again, how do you discern if you have a master number?
Okay. So the normal way you add up your birth date number, say you have September 26, 1971. September is the 9th month, so it's 9 plus 2 plus 6 plus 1 plus 9 plus, did I say 71?
Yes.
7 plus 1.
Yes.
And add those up, reduce it down to a single digit. So if that comes up to be whatever it comes up to be, say a 26, you add 2 plus 6, and then you get an 8.
Yes.
But if you have a 2 or a 4 or a 6, you have to check to see if they could have a master number influence. And then you have to add them 2 different ways. And this way you would take the month added to reduce it to a single digit, the day reduced to a single digit, the year reduced to a single digit, and then add those together and
I
see
see.
if you come up with, if it's a 2, it could be an 11. If it's a 4, it could be a 22. If it's a 6, it could be 33.
And 33 is the master number as well.
Yes, it is.
What are the master numbers then? All of them?
11, 22, and 33, and they all come here with a higher calling.
I see.
So, and then there is a third way. You have to figure that out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So you would take 9 plus 26 plus 1971.
Okay.
So you're adding that up. So any of those ways that you get those master numbers, that means you are a master number. It just means that you can hide with the other number. So if you come up and you say, okay, this way is a 2, this way is a 2, adding it the third way is an 11, you are an 11, but you can still live your life as a 2.
So you can hide from
You
the
can
11.
hide, but you probably won't be happy
Yes.
for the rest of your life.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
I see. And so give us some of the characteristics of
11s are very intuitive, very connected up above. They're idealistic, visionary, creative genius type people. They can also be avant-garde. They see the both sides of the story, and they're usually very intellectual and very spiritual.
Okay.
So 11s have to do something spiritual. They just can't, they can't do everything normal all the time because they're probably getting a lot of information intuitively all the time, whether they want to acknowledge it or not.
Well, it would be interesting to see. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to see the examples that you have of 11s then, because I can't imagine.
Well, and this is so unusual. Barack Obama,
Barack Obama.
Really?
Bill Clinton,
Bill Clinton. Really?
Jackie Kennedy, John McCain, Prince Charles, Ronald Reagan, Rose Kennedy, Tony Blair, Al Gore, Colin Powell.
I'd like to hear the negative qualities of.
But isn't that interesting that they're all
Oh, it is
in
very
a
interesting
political
indeed.
arena?
Yes, all in the political arena.
Well-
and not in the spiritual one.
Right. But hopefully some of them incorporate spirituality, but perhaps we don't see it.
Perhaps that's what happened.
But negativity, they can become a fanatical, delusional, dishonest, way too much ego, thinks that they are the greatest thing and better than everybody else. So especially those in politics, I'm sure
Yes.
they're exposed to that, and that is a great temptation.
And is not power
Corrupts.
corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yes,
It's one of my
that
favorite
might be
sayings,
that
yes.
might be where their downfall was.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so a 22,
Yes.
which their practical idealism, the 22 was here to bring principles of higher consciousness down to everybody, but be able to explain it in a practical, down-to-earth way, so that it's not scary, it's not woo-woo, that somebody will go running from it, so that anybody can kind of understand it. One of the things I used to do in my restaurants was occasionally I would have mediums come in and give free readings to people.
Oh, really?
And because it was in a place that was safe, that people came to all the time, they knew it was a normal, down-to-earth place, they would sign up. And people that had never, ever explored it or thought about it would go and have a reading. And some of the people would be in tears later with the information that they
Yes,
received, being so
yes.
thankful and having validation.
And sometimes
When a person goes to a medium or to a tarot card reader and it's their first reading, I think that they actually become changed in their attitude to what is possible spiritually. And so I think it really does. It's almost like a sea change takes place in them.
Yes.
From it.
Yeah.
I've seen it myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. So these 22s are almost like the architects of a new world. They're here to bring down these ideas, the creative ideas, in a non-scary, non-threatening way and spread them out.
interesting. And I'd love to hear the examples you have of
Okay, up to a 22.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey.
Again, I thought we'd mentioned her.
No, she was a 22.
Oh, she was a 22.
Surprisingly, Brad Pitt.
Well, I can see
But
that.
yeah, he
I
does
can.
have a greater purpose.
Yes, and he just didn't find it until lately.
Yes.
Yeah, and now he's quite the entrepreneur. I mean, the philanthropist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dalai Lama was a 22.
Wow.
Dean Martin was a
Dean Martin.
was a 22.
If he just didn't drink so much,
Yes. Clint
we could have
Eastwood.
seen that more in him.
Yes.
Yes,
yes.
but he was charming.
John Kerry.
John Kerry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
John Kerry, really.
yeah.
I do remember the speech he gave after about Vietnam, and that was extremely inspired.
Mm.
So
Okay.
he was a Vietnam veteran, and he was anti-war, and so he gave one of the greatest speeches to Congress about that, and so it was very heartfelt,
Mm-hmm.
as I recall.
Okay. Negative traits is abuse of power. They can kind of fall into that 4 energy of being working too hard, too much of a routine, drudgery. So they have to make sure. And 22s can overwork also.
Oh, really?
They can just keep going and going and going until they wear themselves out.
Very much like the 4s. Yes, right.
Yes.
And?
So the 33 life path, for a long time, a 33 wasn't really recognized as a master number, but today it is. And 33s are almost always about healing in some way, and they are often energy healers.
Oh, I see. So people who lay their hands on others to heal them or heal them psychically
Yes.
would be 33s.
A lot of times they're 33s, yes. They're great teachers, doctors, of being in medicine, or even food service, because, you know, that can even be sacred, feeding people
Oh, yes.
and nourishing them.
So chefs and
Yes.
such would be a 33.
Yes.
They nourish people, literally.
Mm-hmm. And they would be involved in human rights organizations, that kind of energy.
Yeah.
And famous 33s, John Lennon,
Oh, yes. Well, that fits perfectly.
Albert Einstein,
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Edison,
Uh-huh.
Stephen King.
Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an interesting idea that he
That-
should be that he should
Yes.
be a nourisher.
Yes. So instead of scaring people,
Yes.
you need to nourish them a little bit.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we'll have to ponder that a little bit.
Yes.
It's an unusual one.
And then the negative traits
Yes.
with a 33, they can be overly emotional, too sensitive, and feel everything that's coming to them, which isn't necessarily healthy for them.
Yes.
They can get stressed out and not trust others because they're picking up all those thoughts and all that energy from people.
Yes.
So they have to protect themselves sometimes.
Well, that's very interesting. So those are all the numbers.
Those are all the numbers and the traits. Mm-hmm.
Now, each year has a number assigned to it as well, right?
Right.
So what year are we in?
Well, 2012 is a 5-year, but we actually use the birth month and birthday added to the 5 to get your vibration of
I
the
see.
actual year. And we use the calendar year. It doesn't start at your birthday. And that vibration stays with you the entire year. So if you were 3, the reason that you were a 3 is because you were born into a 3-year of a 9-year cycle. And each of those years in a 9-year cycle has their own vibration. So if you look at a 1 year, you're starting something new, you're starting a project, you have to decide, okay, whatever I decide to bring into my life in a 1 year, it might stay there for the next 9 years. So be choosy.
So what you initiate in a 1 year could have a permanence that you may not even want.
Right. So, yes. So be careful
To be careful.
what you bring in.
So you calculate that in your assessment of a person's goal choice.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right.
So we know that this is a 5-year, 2012, so you would add that then to your birth birthday and birth month.
Yes.
And that gets the cycle that you're in. And a lot of times people will see that when they're at a 9-year, they lose their job, they get divorced, they move, something happens. And
To radically change their direction, right? But we're in a 5-year, but it isn't necessarily for everyone a 5-year.
Right.
Right.
Right, because you do need to add your own particulars into that.
And so you also use astrology. So do you use them both, or do you determine by the person which one you're going to use to help them?
Well, the astrology kind of flavors it, and even more.
So you use it to augment.
Yes.
I
So,
see.
for example, a Capricorn is somebody who's really down to earth, really practical. And if they're a 4, number 2, which is the number of hard work, yikes. I mean, this person needs to learn how to have fun.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
that's how I can kind of interpret that. The other thing is if you see your astrological chart, and if you look at the houses, there's 12 houses on every chart, and your planets are divided between those 12 houses.
Yes.
Sometimes you'll find a house that will have 4 or 5 planets all pushed up together in it.
Yes.
And so that tells me that whatever that house means, so, it could be about self-image, it could be about partnerships, it could be about love interests, that you have come here with a challenge because you have crammed so many houses into that,
So many
so many
planets
I'm sorry,
into the
that
house. I
that-
know what you mean.
Yeah, so
Yes.
you really have a challenge there.
I see. So you use both of those things to help you determine what that person, who he is, because who he is will determine basically what he needs professionally as well.
Right.
Your character is your destiny, after
Right.
all, right?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So then, does the Saturn return have anything to do with a choice of professions?
Well, it can really influence crises in your life.
First, let's explain what a Saturn return is, if you might.
Saturn is the planet of hard work,
Okay.
and it takes 29 years to rotate back around to where it was when you were born.
So you could have 2 or 3, actually 2,
2 usually.
2, unless you're very lucky.
Yes, you're very old. Yes.
You're very, very old.
Yes. So
And then it doesn't matter. at that
exactly,
point.
exactly, and you may not even care by the
Right,
time it gets
right.
there. So,
If
but the first one at age 29 can really hit you if you're in a 9-year cycle too. So I look at that and say, okay, they went through a 9-year right at the Saturn returning, and I'll say, wow, what happened to you? And they can usually say, oh, my house was flooded,
Some
I filed
tragedy, some
bankruptcy.
crisis
Yes,
happened, right?
right. And then again at 58, and that's a lot of time when people are really questioning, who do I want to be for the rest of my life? What do I want to do? They may have lost their job, and they have to start a new career.
Could be 57, could be 59, right?
Could be around there.
Yeah, just
yes.
around there. Just if people are thinking what happened to me when I was 30 or 20, 29, 31, generally, right?
Right.
Because it can
vary a little
It can
bit.
vary a little bit. But if you look back, you can always kind of see a real change taking place, right?
definitely, definitely.
So, and you're also, you said, a soulmate counselor.
Yes,
right?
soulmate coach.
So, coach, pardon me.
Yes.
And so you try to find a person's soulmate, literally,
Well, yes, but we
through numerology and astrology, right?
yes.
Yes.
But one of the things that people always think that if they find their soulmate, then they're going to be happy, then they'll feel fulfilled. It's really the opposite.
It is.
Yes, you have to figure out who you are, become that person, and then the energy opens up, and then the soulmate can appear. And so if you want to figure out your relationship number, you take your life path number, add it to your significant other. You can even use your children, a friend, just
Anyone you want to know about, whether
Yes.
what the characteristics of your relationship with that person
right.
is or are, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's also energy vibrations to that relationship, and there's certain challenges. So if you were a 3 and your ex-husband was a 1, you had a 4 relationship, and that 4 relationship is about hard work. think about all the characteristics of a 4 life path, that all goes into the 4.
That's very interesting. That's because my husband was a 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a 3. So we did have, we worked very hard.
Yes.
Yes, it's very, very true. So there's an example of it working right there as the numerology is working.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So do personal year cycles affect your attractions?
They can.
They can?
Yes. Well, if you're thinking about it's a 1 year,
Yes.
and you want to start a new relationship, you better hope you picked the right one, because you might be stuck for 9 years. But you think about a 2 year, which is a very warm, loving, soft year. That's a great year to form a relationship. A very loving.
2 year.
A 2 year.
A bit, well, that
On
makes
your-
sense
Mhm.
because it's about relationship.
Mhm.
2 is about relationship.
Right.
And so, what kind of people come to you? The same kind that would come to a regular career coach, or
I would say yes, but almost everybody that I work with seems to have a little bit of a spiritual interest. They're aware of the connection of all of us.
and how would someone find you? Tell us how they could reach you and partake of your services.
Well, they can email me
At?
at C.I. Readnower, which is READNOWER @gmail.com.
And I'll have that on our website.
Okay.
When this show becomes archived. So
Okay.
it will be there. But I just wanted you to tell everyone how they could reach you.
Okay.
All right. You don't have a website?
It crashed, so
It
I'm
did
rebuilding it.
Oh my goodness. Is
Yes.
that right?
Mhm.
Now, you are also a certified hypnotist, is that
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And a business consultant as well?
Yes. So it's kind of a natural outgrowth of this. Once somebody finds out what their life path is and they create something, a new business or a new job, then we kind of take steps to look at, well, how do you get there? Do you need more education? Do you need to research this? How do you make the contacts? How can we better prepare you to take the step towards who you really want to be and what you really want to do?
And if they choose to be an entrepreneur, do you avail them of your experience?
I do. I help people create websites, brochures, marketing campaigns,
And
videos,
strategize
all that.
and brainstorm with them about what...
That's a fun part.
Yes,
Yeah.
is it? So
Yeah.
that's a wonderful thing. So you start by helping them figure out where they want to go. And then once they have it, then you can actually be there practically.
Right.
To help them with matters of business, finance, and so on.
Right.
Well, that's wonderful. That's just wonderful.
It's fun. It really is fun.
Okay, well, it's very, very nice of you to share all this information with us. And I'm happy that you could come here today, and thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in and stepping outside of the box. Until next week, may peace and love be your guide.